Sabaidi Najong. Welcome back, subscribers. It's me, Sab, here again with another episode of Suffering in Silence. I have yet again changed the scenery. Today we're on the couch, and I did not feel like doing the full setup with the laptop, the mics, and the audio interface and all that. I'm just too tired and too busy lately. So I got some lap mics hooked up, and that's just how we're going to do it. Because I feel like every single time I overthink it and I set up the mics and everything, and it just doesn't work out. And I'm already really late recording this episode. This episode is supposed to be releasing in 3 days. So I got a lot to share. I feel like my life has been non-stop since 2025 has started. Since actually December. For the last 4 months of my life, I have just been on a crazy adventure. I don't even know how else to explain it. Just been going through a lot of shit, and I'm trying to keep my head up and just be like, I'm gonna make it through. It's gonna be okay. And I know it's gonna be okay. I don't doubt that. Just, sometimes you just feel like you've suffered enough and you're like, shit's gonna get better. Although certain things are getting better, there's many things that are not, I guess you can say. So in the last, I've talked about it often because it is something that's affected me a lot. I feel like in the last few months, I have just really distanced myself a lot from people. And I'm not purposely trying to deprioritize the people that I love and care about. I just have had a lot going on personally, and I understand that vice versa. I don't expect people to, reach out, and I don't expect a lot anymore from people. Because I feel like lately I've just been so disappointed in just the direction that shit has been going, and I've just been feeling like, not just shit, but like my relationships with people have just been going downhill. I was starting to spiral last night. Barely got any sleep because I started blaming myself entirely for the shortcomings of these relationships that I've had. In 2024, I thought it was going to be my year to thrive and rebuild relationships and friendships that I've neglected I absolutely neglected while I was so focused on those toxic relationships that I was in and just everything that I had been going through. For years, obviously, I talk about all the time that I deprioritized my friendships. And last year, I spent a lot more time prioritizing myself, prioritizing what I thought was important to me, which was my social life and having my friends around me. And maybe I needed it. Maybe that's exactly what I needed to learn my lesson, that no one in this world is going to be there for you other than yourself. And I don't want to sound all morbid and dark, but I feel like every single time I turn around, there's a sign. There's something that's telling me that is the right thought process. And I'm just tired of meeting people where they are. And I wish someone for once would just meet me where I'm at and just fucking try to see things my way too. And maybe it's the brat in me, maybe it's the spoiled little girl in me, the daddy's girl in me, but shit, sometimes I feel like I just give so much of myself, or I'm so flexible and I bend over backwards to make so many people in my life happy that I start to just, I don't necessarily resent it. I used to be that way, but since I've grown in the last year, I've grown out of that place where I force myself into some sense of resentment. And it's not that I want to feel entitled about things that I feel like I deserve or want. But sometimes I just feel that there's just so much giving on my end and I'm not receiving anything in reciprocation. And I'm someone who truly believes that when you love and care about someone, if that care is genuine, you're not expecting anything in return. I firmly still believe those things, but to what degree do I keep giving myself to other people and just nothing gets poured back into me? And so in the last month especially, I have very much distanced myself from people that I thought I wanted to prioritize, and it's very unfortunate. And I know I'm definitely to blame in some of it, in the downfalls of those friendships and those relationships, but I also can't just put all the guilt on myself. Just like with that, because that was the old me. That's who I used to be. I used to be my last breakup, which has been a year and a half, 2 years now. I shifted so much of that guilt and that blame on me, and I blame myself for everything that went wrong in that relationship because he was one of the best guys I've ever dated. But that's not saying a lot considering the shitbags that I have dated. But that's besides the point. The point is, I've noticed that there's a pattern in who I am. And that pattern is that every time the end of a friendship, the end of a connection comes around, I always shift all of the blame on myself for the shortcomings of those friendships, relationships, connections, whatever, rather than looking at the whole picture and considering that it takes two to tango. I sometimes have to remember that I need to take a step back from the relationships and connections that I have with people and view it from a third party perspective and someone looking on the outside in, right? And if my friends were going through, or if someone that I cared about was going through whatever I'm going through, would I still advise them on the same thing? Would I still tell them that it wasn't just your fault? That it was a combined, I guess, shortcoming. It was a combination of things from both ends. That there were many shortcomings that resulted in the end of a relationship or the end of a friendship. And I have to really take that step back and really think about it. Because when it's you that's being affected by it, it's obviously not easy to think clearly through it because your feelings are heightened, your emotions are heightened. All of it is just, it's all over the place. And I feel like I've been so much better about my reaction to things. It's just more of, is it worth me even talking about? Because clearly we got to this point of disagreeing this terribly for a reason. We clearly don't see eye to eye about a lot of major situations or a lot of major foundational values that we each have. And that is okay. I've always felt like I'm someone who enjoys inspiring other people to be the best version of themselves. Clearly and obviously, Suffering of Silence was built to do that. Or at least I hoped. And it gets exhausting sometimes and it gets draining sometimes because, especially I should say, when the people closest to you are the ones that you want to inspire the most. And you're not, I guess that's me projecting those expectations onto people. And I'm just essentially breaking my own heart by doing that. And I know I've said this in past episodes and I've talked about this, but I guess for me, it's learning where to draw the line, right? Learning where the projection of your expectation of people is, because I feel like projecting expectations is different from just simply knowing that you need to have a certain type of person within a close vicinity of you, right? Because let's be realistic. As independent as you can be and as strong-minded as you can be, you are heavily influenced by those around you. And if you continue to keep people around you that are not necessarily meeting you where you are or pushing you to exceed where you are currently at to be a better version of yourself, unfortunately for me, I just don't see that that's worth my time. And I think it's just really heartbreaking for me because I'm continuously saying goodbye. The last few months have just literally been goodbyes. But as I've said in the more recent episodes, this is my Saturn return. This is the peak of my Saturn return. And that means it's showing me the things that essentially are deserving to be part of my life or not. And that might mean friendships close to me. And it's very unfortunate, but I guess I'll be saying goodbye again to another friendship. And it doesn't hurt any less. Knowing that it was inevitable, knowing that it was... I can't say that knowing that it is the peak of my Saturn return that justifies or makes me feel better that these friendships and these relationships are coming to an end, it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't take away the fact that it hurts. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm grieving another loss, but I've been through worse. I've survived it. And this is just another situation in which I've got to continue to persevere through. But last night I was just genuinely spiraling because I'm like, am I being dramatic? Am I being overly attached to my friends? And I know that that's actually just the way I am. I've been that way forever. I always get heavily emotionally invested in my friendships and my relationships with people because, I don't know, I'm a fucking Leo. And many people will say that being a Leo does not justify the way you behave. But I truly believe that it does, because I love very deeply, I love very passionately, and I stand by that. So it's hard for me to not feel the pain and the hurt just as deeply as the way I love and I care about people. So I was very much spiraling last night. So I was journaling a little bit about it because I was just going insane. I couldn't sleep. And I was just sitting here thinking, why am I always so attached to my friends? Why do I have such a hard time letting go of them? And I'm just struggling to maintain my sanity in the middle of all of this. I'm so used to, well, not necessarily anymore. There were many times in which I faced a lot of the hardest things in my life alone. And I think I started to build this comfort and this safety net around having close friends again. And I feel like I forgot for a while that it's okay to be alone. It's okay to ride solo through this hard time. Basically, what I'm saying is I got to a point where I was relying so heavily on my friendships and my relationships with my friends to maybe even fill a certain void of a sense of loneliness that I felt. And I forgot that I'm actually okay alone. For a very long time, I was I still am. I'm still very much content with doing things alone. In the last year, of course, again, I've traveled all over the world alone. I've done so many things alone, but I spent also a lot of time and created so many great memories with my friends in the last year as well. And I thought that those things were my way of trying to soak in all of the time that I had left with them, because I knew that there were certain choices and decisions that I needed to make in my life that would absolutely distance myself from them, and I would no longer have that closeness of my friendships again. And I wanted to enjoy that. But clearly, I was just the only one that was, I don't want to discredit their experience in the friendships, but I don't necessarily believe that people value the friendship as much as I did. And all I can say is I felt like I was being a fucking idiot and just putting too much weight on my friendships with people and thinking that it was going to be somehow beneficial to me. Clearly not. So I think it also is difficult because I'm going through a lot of personal shit that in the last year, I've been so used to leaning on my friends to help me work through these emotions and get through things. And I think I've just learned more and more that regardless, I need to make sure I make decisions based off of what I feel like is best for myself and trusting myself more. This spiral that I had last night, I was just starting to question, why am I losing everyone around me? I was starting to question if I'm just a terrible fucking person. I started to question if I was even a good person. Am I even half as good as I think I am? Am I just a horrible friend? Am I just a horrible person to people? Am I just trash as shit? Is that why I'm losing all of my friends right now? Is that why I'm losing everyone close to me right now? And it's really hard for someone like me who values their relationships with people so much to not feel like the blame needs to be put on me entirely. And I also realized that I have, through all the blame and the guilt that I put on myself for the end of relationships and friendships, I get this sense, I start to feel angry, and I start to feel like I want to go in this, I guess, in this protective mode of my emotions and myself. And it makes me so angry that I want to lash out. And by lashing out, I mean literally cussing them out and sending fucking paragraphs and talking mad shit to them and wanting to just scream at them, fuck you for hurting me, fuck you for disappointing me. And then it makes me angry at the entire world. It's not just I'm angry just at the person who's hurt me. I'm angry at every fucking one who's hurt me. Fuck you for ever hurting me. Fuck you for... I start to feel the anger. And then I realize, if you didn't know, I will tell you now that anger is literally, that's just a surface level emotion. There's an underlying emotion and feeling that's beneath your anger. And you have to learn to unpack that and learn to resolve what exactly that feeling is. And I'm not saying that it's okay for me to lash out on people when I get angry or when I feel hurt by them. But finding a way to healthily express that anger is something that I've always struggled with. And I've realized that I've gotten better. I've actually gotten better at it. And in this situation that I'm currently going through, the anger that I'm feeling inside, again, this is just an emotion, a surface level feeling. And what I'm genuinely feeling, what my true emotions and my feelings are, is that I feel very hurt and disappointed that I tried so many different ways to try and make this friendship work, to try to make this relationship work with this person. And it still resulted in the demise of our friendship and our relationship. And I don't know what more I can do. And there's probably nothing I can do. I just simply have to accept that this is just the end of it. And as much as I continue to beat myself up and tell myself that I don't know how to express this and I don't know how to process this emotion in a healthy way, I just did. I was triggered last night. I felt angry and I spiraled out of control. And I almost probably did something I would have regretted. I would have texted this person and just told them the fuck off. But instead I chose to sit with that feeling and process why I would even feel angry, why I would even feel hurt. Not only was I, or am I, disappointed with that person, but I'm hurt because I'm like, I thought we were making progress, thought we were moving forward in our friendship, and I thought we were both putting in effort to make this work. But clearly it is one-sided. And I learned that very clearly last week, and having it blatantly in my face, I think once I really processed it and really saw for myself that I was putting so much into that friendship and they just weren't able to meet me where I was at, it just became exhausting. And I feel even more defeated and I felt defeated. That's all I can say is I felt defeated and I felt disappointed in myself because I promised myself that I would keep trying and I would keep pushing to maintain that friendship and that relationship. But that is just unrealistic for me because that's pouring so much of myself into that friendship and that relationship. And it's very difficult for me because this is also someone that I've trusted creatively. And I feel like I don't do that often because I am very afraid. I'm very, I just simply don't trust people creatively too often. I don't trust them with my ideas. I don't trust them with working with me and collaborating with me. And it's most likely because time and time and again, I've been disappointed by the people that I've collaborated with, which really sucks, but shit, it's part of life. And it's very hard to know and identify those who will take it seriously and who don't. And I know I do a lot of shit just for shits and gigs and just to have fun. And I don't mean to put the pressure on anyone, but sometimes I can't explain the rush and the sensation that I feel when I have an idea or when I feel so inclined to expressing myself creatively. or I know it's difficult to collaborate with other people when they may not feel as motivated to create things and express themselves in that way every single time that I feel that way. But I feel like there should be, to some degree, a level of open-mindedness to experiencing things that you may not necessarily be comfortable with, because that is how you grow, and I'm definitely all about that. And I also believe that a part of me feels hurt because it seems, or it appears, that someone would be so easy and so quick to moving on from a friendship or relationship with me and entirely just forget about me, as if any of this didn't matter. I don't know. I might be wrong. And I think that's my heavy criticism of myself. My hypercritical self is always so afraid that I'm just going to be an ordinary girl to someone else. Or I'm just afraid that I'm so forgettable to people. But that shouldn't even fucking matter. It's not as easy as it sounds, like, to just tell yourself that you're not an ordinary fucking person. You're not, like, you know, it takes a lot of rebuilding or just building of the self-confidence. And every single time that I'm experiencing a loss, or every single time I go through something, I'm learning that there's other insecurities that I've uncovered about myself. And this time I'm just learning that I'm always so scared that I'm pushing people away, because I know that old me has been very, like, I've been an absolute menace, and I push people away when I feel like they've gotten too close, and I'm too scared to let them close to me, and I feel like they're going to hurt me. And so my way of protecting myself is to lash out and push them away. But in this situation, or in more recent situations, I don't believe that I'm lashing out or pushing anyone away. I'm simply just standing on my boundaries and standing up for how I feel about a situation that I feel like I was hurt in. And if that person can't understand that, then that just tells me exactly where I stand in their life. And I shouldn't feel any less than of myself because of it, because the way someone else values me is not a reflection of actually who I am. They are not the ones who have created the formula that equates to my value and who I am to the world. And it's very difficult to not weigh so much of that and your self-worth in what other people equate you to be and what your worth is to someone else. It's very difficult to not get so wrapped up in that when you're doing things so front-facing to the public. It's difficult to not weigh so much of that in your self-worth when you're trying to create for the world to see. I think part of what I confuse myself with is I believe that my confidence in myself and my self-worth and value, I use that more as a motivation and not necessarily as a foundation of why I do things. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I mean by that is I use that as a motivation to keep going, but I haven't necessarily sunk that into the foundation of why I've even started to do this in the first place. And that goes not just for the pod, but just everything in general. Everything that I do that I value about my life, I don't necessarily use my self-confidence and my self-worth as the foundation of it all. Because if you have a strong foundation and you are strong in your self-confidence and your self-worth, I would believe that it's a lot less easy for anyone to break that. And using that as the motivator, not that it's a bad thing, but using that as the motivator in continuing what you're doing is not enough. It's not enough. Because you could have so many reasons to stay motivated that have nothing to do with your self-confidence or your self-worth. But more importantly, you need to have a strong foundation. And that would have to start with your self-confidence and your self-worth. So maybe redefining my self-worth is part of what I need to do. Ensuring that I lay the roots down foundationally in myself to continue to build that confidence, to continue to stay motivated within my self-confidence and self-worth, but not just using that as motivation. I'm probably just going on a rant right now. It may not make sense to people. I don't know, maybe. And a huge part of self-worth and self-confidence comes with trusting myself. And I feel like every single time I get hurt, I start to question whether I trust myself and whether or not I trust my judgment in people. And I start to doubt myself. But I have to remember that it is absolutely inevitable that you are going to get hurt in this world. And I have to remember that at least I've loved them, even if I've lost them. At least I love them in such a passionate capacity that it was satisfying enough for me. And this goes for friendships and relationships. And that is enough. And doesn't mean that I shouldn't trust myself. It might mean that the next time that I see the red flags, the next time that I start to recognize things that do not align with me, that I walk away sooner and not get myself hurt in the same way again. Because I can guarantee that there's probably a million other ways I can get hurt in this world. And I'm not saying that I'm just out here looking for a new hurt, but I'm sure that I can still leave room to get hurt in new ways. Because I enjoy the new experiences. I just enjoy learning more things. So, I don't know. I feel like I was just going off on a tangent and I'm getting pretty tired right now. I was just having a hard time processing this loss and it sucks. But it is what it is, I guess. And I know I say that all the time and people say that shit all the time, that it is what it is. But in reality, I can only do so much to control the situation. And I said my piece and I'm good. I'm not going to cry about it again. I'm not going to crash the fuck out about it again. I did that. I processed it. I'm good. It's another loss, but it's okay. It just really sucks. It still really sucks. So, anyways, I'm currently opening myself back up to new camera people, cameramen, camera women, camera non-binary. So I'm looking for someone who is just essentially looking to have some fun, get a little experimental with me. Again, we're just doing this just for the fuck of it. I do very much enjoy lifestyle photo shoots, but I understand that it's not necessarily everyone's niche. And I'm going to miss our sessions. I'm going to miss being able to create things and express myself in that way. But I've got so many ideas bolted and I need to let it out. I thought I had everything perfected in that realm. And I didn't want to believe that this would end so soon, but we kind of knew it. So it is what it is, I guess. So I'm out there looking for new camera peoples. Unfortunately, this time I will not be limiting myself to just one person. So the door is open for anyone. And obviously the chemistry has to be there. So I don't expect us to just be great together immediately. But I am open to working with multiple camera people in the Milwaukee area. And I'm looking for new opportunities to connect and network with those in my community. I'm sorry to everyone who I have not responded to about shooting in the past. I'm down for it now. I'm sorry. So if you're interested in working together, let me know. I just need someone consistent, someone who's just willing to fuck around and find out and just have fun. Really fucking have fun. I don't do these to be serious. I don't even consider myself a model. I just consider it a fun expression of who I am. And I get to get dressed and do my makeup. And that's not something I typically do. And these photo shoots, or whatever you want to call them, those were just ways I got to express myself in that way, through my clothes, through my makeup, and by taking photos. I don't know. That's just what I enjoyed doing. So if you know anyone who is just looking to have some fun and be my camera person for a little while. Again, I'm open to a variety of people, just not creeps. And so, hit the DMs. But so we will continue to have regularly scheduled episodes every Friday for as long as I can keep going. I am going to be very honest. I'm very tired, very exhausted from working so much. And for those of you who, I don't know if I never remember if I mentioned this or not, but I'm bartending now. So if you want to know where to find me throughout the week, just ask. But anyways, you guys should totally subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is Suffering of Silence Pod. And you can obviously find this podcast on any podcast streaming platforms. And follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Suffering of Silence Pod. Hit the DMs with some recommendations. If you know anyone that's just willing to fuck around with the camera a little bit, or if you are the one who wants to work together collaboratively, come up with some fun experimental shoots, let me know. I am down. But other than that, I hope y'all take care. I'll talk to you guys next week.